I'm so clever.
Sheldon! Oh my god!
What the fuck, Mike? What are you doing bursting in here like that?
Shut up, this is important. Guess what episode is coming up next?
Well, I haven't checked the list yet, but I'll take a peek and...
Never mind, I'll just tell you. The movie is The Vampire Lovers.
Oh, the Hammer film about the lesbian vampire.
That's the one, and guess what number it is?
Episode number, you mean? It's... Oh, no.
69! It's 69! Can you believe it? Okay, I got some amazing titles for this one.
Oh, God, this is not going to be good.
Okay, first, Lady and the Vamp.
No.
How about LGBTQV?
Absolutely not.
Okay, Lesbian Vampire Lovers of Lust.
That's terrible.
Okay, what about Spikes Through the Hearts of Dykes?
That's equally offensive and inaccurate.
You're pissing me off, man.
Dude, seriously, these are just the worst titles you've ever come up with. Mike, this might be more than you can handle, dude.
Oh, man, come on. How about what's a lesbian vampire's favorite time of the month?
What? That doesn't even make sense. Time of the month? Oh, gross! No! Okay, that's it. You're banned from naming the episode. Now, get out. I got work to do.
But...
No! Out!
Fucking fine. Fucking asshole not letting me do my...
What?
Nothing. Ooh! Sucky, licky, licky.
Banned!
God damn it!
69. Welcome to episode 69 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category, or at least one with horror elements, and we break it down into the good, the bad, and any other category we decide to make up along the way. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, and anything else we find fun or relevant. I'm your host Sheldon, and I never worked a graveyard shift alone. Please say hello to someone that was way too excited about this week's episode number, my co-host Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Mike, how are you, buddy?
It's been a while. We had a little, couple of unexpected pauses, so I was all pent up, and I think it was pretty fitting that I was getting blue-balled on the 69 episode.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We had a little time off to do a number of things, including deal with medical reasons, and Mike almost pulling a Wizard of Oz and getting blown away by a tornado. That was fucking crazy.
Yeah, losing power over the weekend, not fun.
No, not at all. It could have been a lot worse. But we are back and in full swing, and it's October, our favorite time of the year. I am very happy to talk about the things on our list leading up to Halloween. So let's get started. Now, I know everyone listening already knows what this week's movie is from the opening skit, which was much less fictional than people would believe. But let's say it again anyway. Mike, why don't you tell everyone what this week's episode is all about?
Today's episode is... Sheldon wouldn't let Mike name this one. Because it's episode 69, where we review The Vampire Lovers.
That's right. This one was requested by Kevin S. I wonder if that's Kevin Smith, who suggested it on our Facebook page. If you have a movie you'd like us to cover on the show, then stay with us till the end of the episode, and we'll tell you all the ways you can do that. So before our breakdown, here's a little info on The Vampire Lovers. Released on October 4th, 1970, The Vampire Lovers is an American-British gothic horror film produced by Hammer Films and stars Peter Cushing and Ingrid Pitt. It's based on the book Carmilla, which was written more than 25 years before Bram Stoker, or as autocorrect likes to say it, Bram Sticker, wrote Dracula, and it's the first film in what's known as the Karnstein trilogy.
Karnstein.
Sorry, yes, Stein. I forgot. German.
Stein. You gotta put that sh in there.
Yeah, sticking in your Stein.
You don't want to get the Germans upset, okay? Like history has shown what Germans do when they get in a tiff.
Say it like Sean Connery. Pushy. It had a budget of approximately $260,000 US. That's Quite a budget. And from what I've read, it did make a lot of profit, though I couldn't find the exact numbers. It has a runtime of 91 minutes, which is awesome. It's rated R, and Rotten Tomatoes gives this one something I've never seen during the entire time we've been doing this show, Mike. A tie score. Both critics and audience scored this one at 60%.
What no, this movie was better than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go 60, but I don't know. I wouldn't give it a lot higher. But anyway, we go into that. Just want to mention that's very
69%?
There you go. That's it. That's what I was waiting for. But yeah, it's just so rare that we actually see I mean, most of the time, more often than not, you're going to see for a horror movie, the audience score is going to be a lot higher than the critic score, unless it's a little more artsy one.
I cannot believe the lack of love for this. This was the first English-speaking movie to give us lesbian vampires.
It was. So,
this is groundbreaking. This is pivotal. This is like a subgenre in and of itself. This was the pioneer.
Okay, so there's Mike's good list, everybody. So I guess we can move on to the bad. But anyway, as for the plot, seductive vampire Camilla Karnstein and her family target the beautiful and rich in a remote area of late 18th century Germany. And you can tell it took place in Germany because everyone had an English accent. So, as always on the Graveyard Shift, we are going to break this movie down into the good and the bad. These things can be whatever we want to mention. For instance, for the good, anything we like, whether it's something as broad as an overall theme, atmosphere, or something as specific as a certain actor, certain scene, or certain line, that goes for the bad as well. We always start with the good, and we always start with the Mike. So, Mike, even though you've already been gushing all over this one, tell me something good about the Vampire Lovers.
Well, right off the bat, we get an interesting party where the first guy to catch my notice is the guy that played a young Scrooge in the classic black and white Alistair Sim English movie Scrooge.
Really?
And he shows up at the party as Baron Munchausen, or whatever the guy's name is. And also...
is German for pussy eater.
And then we get to see Peter Cushing dressed like Sgt. Pepper.
We did, indeed. Because it's a Hammer film, so of course, like, Peter Cushing had to be in it.
But he's not Van Helsing, and that's sad. Like, he is not... He's not that up on the vampire thing. We don't get to see him at his best. It's... Well, now I'm dipping into the bad, but we gotta stick with the good. Gotta stay positive. So, he looks like Captain Crunch, and he looks fantastic. There's a great party, and then we get to see all these lovely women. So, it's very lush. It's that beautiful pre-Victorian Hammer atmosphere, letting us know we're in for something. And then when immediately before the scene ends, we get to see a girl acting a little jealous because Ingrid Pitt is staring at her boyfriend. And then the boyfriend has to inform her, oh, she's staring at you.
Absolutely.
So we're getting the overtones right off the bat, and this is a very good setup and it doesn't disappoint when it kicks off. So absolutely. We're in for a good start.
Yeah, so the first thing I've got on my list for the good is just, right off the bat, Peter Cushing. I'm like, Peter Cushing's in this. He doesn't get a lot of screen time in this, even though he's pivotal to the plot. But, man, everything that Peter Cushing's in, if he's in a scene, he's stealing the fucking scene. Like, I know he's not playing the Van Helsing character. He's not up on this. Like, you know, he has to be convinced that vampires are real and all in this thing. But goddamn, is he ever fantastic.
Yeah, it's like some weird alternate universe where Van Helsing is just like some weak nobody who just, you know, kind of became like an army medic, and that's how he got his doctorship rather than being like a professor of vampire killology. And
in this movie, you've already called him Sgt. Pepper and Captain Crunch. My first note when he shows up is, thanks, Captain Obvious. So anything
that's his third military title. Sergeant Pepper, Captain Crunch, and then Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
Or Admiral Obvious. He's got to rise up the ranks.
If he showed up again, we call him Private Dancer. So yeah, I just got anything Peter Cushing is just he's just going to be awesome. All right, so what else do you got for the good?
Laura has a dream of being devoured by a pussy. This is what we call Freudian foreshadowing.
It's opposite day. This is probably going to go down as our most sexist episode ever.
Oh, this is why I was happy. Oh, I am elated.
This is your wheelhouse, Mike, for sure.
It's gonna get better or worse, depending
It'll
on your
probably get
perspective.
worse before it gets better. But
So we get that Freudian foreshadowing of a woman being devoured by a large kitty.
Yep. There's no other way. We can't even make... You don't even have to make a joke about this. Just...
It's there.
It's just right there.
I'm being smothered by a pussy. Oh well. And then like Ingrid Pitt comes along. Girl, I can make your dreams come true.
Story of my life, dude. Story of my life.
So what about you?
I just love Hammer films, man, and it was unfortunate that like this one came out. This was one of the later Hammer films. They were on their way out at this point. Like they were in their twilight years right now.
And one thing, like a good, but it's not part of the movie, but just like a good about the movie, is that it was probably filmed in 1969.
It most likely was, yes, because it got released in October of 1970. So, yeah, there's a good chance it was.
Continue.
I don't want to. I can only go downhill from here. Oh, so yeah, like this is like I said, this was coming up on the end of Hammer as a production studio, anyway, and they were going to
at least as a powerhouse.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Hammer really still exists in some form, but they certainly weren't going to have the pull that they did during like the 50s and 60s.
Well, they did they shut down in the 70s, or was it in the 80s when they finally shut down?
It was in the mid 70s when the actual like production studios went kaput, I think.
Yeah, although it did make a nice comeback when it was bought by fans, and one of the first movies that they put out was Let Me In.
That's right.
So it's a strong resurrection for the studio.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so despite the fact that they knew that the curtains were starting to draw,
they just decided, okay, we're losing talent. Christopher Lee isn't coming back. What are we going to do to bring people in?
Peter Cushing probably one more time. So
he's good for about a day of shooting. So what are we going to do to put asses in seats? Okay, it's time to break out the nipples.
Mm-hmm. And despite like this had like a fairly low budget, like even for 1970, when you consider the look of something, just 2 years before, George Romero had made Night of the Living Dead for $160,000 budget. And I mean, when you see Night of the Living Dead, it's like fantastic, but it looks like something you would see like around that late 60s, early 70s era for that low of a budget.
It looked like a college project.
For $50,000 more, 2 years later, Hammer Studios pulled off The Vampire Lovers, and it looks fantastic. I mean, the atmosphere is just unbelievable. The production value is fantastic. The sets are amazing, like all Hammer films. And it's... like
and Ingrid Pitt. They still had enough to bring in Ingrid Pitt.
Yeah, I honestly think like most of the budget probably went to Peter Cushing and Ingrid Pitt. Why have I had some hard time saying her name?
Because you're trying not to say Ingrid Tit?
Probably, that could be it. That could be Tit. But yeah, so like the majority of the budget probably went to the 2 stars, and it's just amazing. Like I couldn't believe it. I had to check 2 times when I actually looked up the budget of this thing. And
All their budgets were low, weren't they? Like even the '58 Dracula, it was pretty damn cheap for the time, and it was a fucking epic.
yeah, so they decided to sink a few dollars into this, but like I said, like nothing compared to some of the Hollywood movies that were coming out at the time, and fuck, like when you consider what was coming out in 1970, if you saw some like American-made high-budget Hollywood movies, when it comes to the actual look, the atmosphere, the set design, it didn't look anywhere nearly as nice as this. It is just beautiful. Like Hammer made beautiful movies. I know there's lots of blood and gore and everything like that. They are real horror movies, but they are fucking spectacular to look at. So pleasing to the eyes. Like I get lost in a Hammer film. Like I feel like it's like getting into a warm bath.
Oh, it's all presence and atmosphere, and it's all like the best way to describe just the color of these films is lush.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's perfect. That's a perfect description. Speaking of lush, what else you got on your good?
Oh boy, in under 20 minutes, we get girls kissing.
Sure do.
Like it doesn't waste our time. It doesn't like. It's not like, ooh, we're in such a conservative era. We can only get away with this gimmick once. We're gonna have to make you wait for it. No, like as soon as they let us know we're in this place called Styria. It's a place in Germany. There's a bunch of fancy shit going along. There's this lady in a boarding house, and there's some chicks making out.
Yep, and just ridiculously beautiful women in this movie too. And that was the thing with most Hammer films. And I mean, it's a movie thing anyway. But like rarely are there unattractive people in movies. But
yeah, these women are just gorgeous.
Yeah, these just ridiculously good-looking women. And yeah, like you said, it doesn't take long before they said, no, we're not going to beat around the bush with this. This is a movie about. I knew you
had some in you.
This is a movie about lesbian vampires, and we're gonna dive right into it.
We're gonna muff dive right in.
Oh, Jesus Christ! My mom listens to this show.
She did listen to this show. It was nice while it lasted. You can just say, Mom, you can skip this one.
Yeah. I'll give her an edited version.
Wait, you can edit?
Oh, fuck no. You're going to give her an edited version.
Oh, no.
We'll call it the director's cut.
Oh. So what about you?
So, and everybody that listens to our show regularly know I'm going to mention this, is that while Hammer had made a name for a time when they were probably the first to start adding like nice blood and gore to the movies, wow, they went really good with this one. This was some hardcore stuff, man. Like considering the time and the budget, look at within like the first 5 minutes of the movie, we see an awesome beheading.
Yes.
Like, that was just so well done. Guy just grabs his that was his sister, right? That was the vampire.
I think he was looking for his sister, but then like he mentions later on in the movie talking about like hesitating because there was a beautiful woman.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a little confused because as far as I'm concerned, like I'm pretty sure he was looking for his sister.
Yeah. I know he said that in his monologue, so I just assumed that was her. And he does hesitate for a sec. But she's about to bite him. He just grabs her by the hair, pulls her hair up, and then sliced right across the neck, and her head just...
She leans in to give him a hug, and then her boobies hit the crucifix on his neck.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes her recoil, and out come the fangs like... And that's when he immediately just like, oh no, oh, fuck you, no you don't. Grabs her by the hair, whips out his saber, and one shot. Which, for a saber at close distance with no swing room, I imagine like you'd have to like
never happen.
You'd have to chop a few times because there's bone in there, there's muscle.
Yeah, no, it would never happen. Physics would not be your friend in that situation.
No, unless you got guns like Schwarzenegger, that guy could probably chop your head off.
But you wouldn't he would need a sword. He just come on.
Oh, he would just like rip. He'd just like grip and rip.
Exactly. Something that I have a feeling you were doing a lot of during this movie.
Well, speaking of, my next good, 23 on the titty timer. That is how long you have to wait. Just 23 minutes, and then boom. And then not 7 minutes later, and boy, you get some slick, shiny, soapy skin for the eyes. And then her friend joins in. God damn, Mike is happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Many of my
notes... We get
to
see soapy, slick Ingrid Pitt in the tub, just washing up, titties out, and then gets up, and then we get the full butt. It is full tits and ass. Like, they just realized... Without Christopher Lee, we need something to get people watching this movie, and boy, I like the way they improvised.
I like that comparison. It's like you get some director somewhere. It's like, okay, we either need Christopher Lee or tits and ass. What's it gonna be?
Well, the women started burning their bras in America about 4 years ago, so I think we can finally get away with this. I wanted to do this in Dracula, but they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let the bride walk in naked full bush while seducing Harker. They made me put a gown on her. I think I can get away with this now.
Oh my god. So remember that meme that was circulating around on Facebook for a while? It's like all these little picture of Christopher Lee with all these little bullet points about his accomplishment, and that should be added to the list right now. It's just like it'd be a bullet point, and like the only actor that brings in as many people into a theater as tits and ass.
More, I think. I mean, look at the rating that this movie got.
Yeah, really. That is a good point.
A man whose absence could not be fixed with outrageous tits and ass. Glamorous, supermodel level tits and ass. Could not replace the allure of this man.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god. So, what did we talk about? We talked about the atmosphere, just pretty, like, very progressive. And I don't want to say progressive in the sense that, like, I mean, it was obviously pandering to men, just an excuse to see some nudity and some lesbian scenes. It's not like
but it was the first.
It's not like this was a part of the feminist movement or anything like that. But I gotta say, like, it is pretty cool. I put this on my good list. When you consider how old the story was, like we talked about, like, this predated Dracula, the novel that this was based on.
Yeah, the source material was amazingly progressive.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure wasn't.
It was probably originally published as smut, but then someone just thought, if we clean it up just a little bit, I think we can get away with selling this.
Yeah, so that would have been. I mean, Dracula came out in 1897. So the original novel of Camilla would have, whatever it was called, Carmilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have came out in the 1870s.
Even with a 20-year head start, it just didn't gain enough traction that Dracula did right off the bat. So, I don't know. England was so fucking prudy that lesbian vampires just wasn't a fad. It just didn't kick off.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Like, it certainly doesn't get the recognition that other Hammer films get, but I think you need to check it out. Like, 'cause as soon as you mention Hammer films, I mean, we're fans of Hammer. We've mentioned Hammer films a few times, and surprisingly, we haven't covered a lot on the show, which, I mean, mostly because we cover ones that get suggested. But, I mean, everybody that's a fan of Hammer, they know, like, Dracula, the Mummy, and the Frankenstein series, everything like
The
this.
Wolfman.
This one gets overlooked. Like, there are so many people that that I know of that are familiar with Hammer. I mean, not hardcore, obviously, but like they're familiar or fans of the Hammer films, but didn't even know this one existed.
And there was 3 of them. The Karnstein trilogy was, a trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it certainly is. Like, it's, certainly not my favorite, but worthwhile checking out. If you're a Hammer fan, you need to check this out. Okay, so we talked about the good. So,
Well, I got one last one.
all right, sure.
And this one, surprisingly, is not sexual. It is when the doctor who... You think he's smartening up. Like, he's realizing, oh shit, we're dealing with a vampire. So when he gets attacked by Carmilla in the forest, she pins him to the ground, and then he decides to pull the movie trope of just drawing a cross into the ground with his finger.
Oh, yeah.
But he is not Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, so he gets the appropriate and fair result. It does not fucking work.
Yes. Which it shouldn't.
He draws a cross in the ground, and she just doesn't buy it.
Which it shouldn't. Like, that's ridiculous, because we've talked about it in a couple instances now that, like, vampires are fucking weak because you could just, if it doesn't even have to be a real crucifix. It can be something that vaguely resembles a crucifix. And it drives them crazy. Look at, what was it, Waxwork, when she crossed two knives together and, like...
Yeah, 2 steak knives or something.
And touched it on his face, and he fucking melted and then exploded.
His head opened up like a flower.
So... And then people, like, literally, like, what do you just walk around with your fingers crossed and you're good.
Yeah, that is, as I said before, only one person gets away with turning anything into a crucifix, and that is Dr. Van Helsing, played by Peter Cushing. Yeah. Only he can take candlesticks, make them a crucifix, and get away with it. He has earned it. He is a fucking doctor. You are not.
Yeah. So yeah, I was glad to see that, because that was about to piss me off. If that worked, I think I probably would have turned the movie off. So I was so happy, especially since, like, it's happened so much with Christopher Lee's Dracula. Like, I mean, he's got killed in some pathetic ways. It was like, it seems like they were just like, well, we already killed him by driving a stake through his heart. So now, and by sunlight, what else can we do? Oh, you know what? We'll just make up shit. Running water now kills a vampire. He's not allowed to touch a certain type of thorn bush now. Did somebody, like, show him a Bible or something once, and he, like, recoiled in pain? So
I don't know. I don't know if it was Christopher Lee Dracula that did that. Like, there are epic ways to kill Dracula. Like, again, driving him into the sunlight, which was great.
Yeah,
And then there was one where it wasn't Dracula. It was what the hell was that guy in The Brides of Dracula? That guy that was chained up in the basement.
Oh, is that where they use his blood to resurrect Dracula?
No, the Dracula wasn't in this one at all. It had this old lady who was not Bea Arthur, and she has a son who was turned into a vampire by one of her Johns. And this lady who passes by frees him, and then he creates like a whole bunch of brides. One of them bites Dr. Van Helsing. But through sheer force of will, he takes holy water and an iron poker and just, like, blesses the wound and then seals it with a poker. And all the vampires are just watching him, like, de-vampirize himself, which is so fucking baller. Because he's, like, stabbing himself in the neck with a poker. You can see, like, but then, like, the bite marks go away. And he's fine. And then he takes out the guy by pinning him down with a windmill and the moon.
Right, yes. Because, like, just the shadow of the windmill made a shape of a crucifix.
But he is Dr. Van Helsing. He can de-vampirize himself. He has earned it. He's the only one who can. He's the one exception.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because I'm so glad it didn't work because it was too easy to like repel or kill a vampire so far in the Hammer movies, and this one was not having it.
Yeah, he tried to be Van Helsing. He was not Van Helsing, and boy did he get taken out.
She gives him a look too, like, "Are you a fucking idiot?" So yeah.
Yeah, there's only
stuff.
one guy that can do that, and you ain't him, buddy.
Good stuff. Okay, so now if that's it for your good,
Yep.
then let's get into the bad. And I want to mention one right off the top. I've already kind of mentioned it, just because it was right there in my notes. But if your movie takes place in Germany, can somebody please just speak with a German accent? I mean, they do say certain German words that you can't help but sound German when you say it.
Like Karnstein?
Exactly. But everybody's just obviously British.
Finally, our land of Styria is safe for all of Germankind.
Mm-hmm. I'm German, I am.
Call back.
Exactly. So that just bugged me. It's a nitpick, I know, but still. I mean, come on. Get some German actors. Like, that's all you need to do. Like, just, I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. It was like one of the first things I wrote down. And it's like, yes, you can tell it's Germany because everyone speaks with a British accent.
Yeah, it's the Roman soldier effect.
Exactly. Well, that's a movie trope right in itself, you know. Like, anytime that a movie takes place in a foreign country, everybody has a British accent.
Yeah, because they can't sound American, so that's
So basically,
they have to sound
that's what
non-American.
they're saying. If you don't, yeah, if you're not American, then just any accent will do.
Yeah, but British, so you sound sophisticated.
Yeah, there you go. Well, maybe it works. But anyway, that's my first one. I can't wait to hear what yours. I have no idea because like you've been very happy about this movie, so I have no idea what you would put on a bad list.
Yeah, but my love is it's not unconditional. Like I can love someone warts and all, but I am aware of the warts. And the first one is in the cold open for the movie, we see a woman walking around a grave dressed like the shittiest Halloween ghost ever.
It's just
Not even eyes cut out. Like, what the fuck are you walking around with a blanket on? She walks around with a blanket, even though, like, she's not trying to hide her monstrous demonic visage. She looks human, and she's got a fucking dress on. And the guy that's like stalking her waits for her to leave, and then takes a blanket, a shroud, out of the coffin so they can't go back in it. I mean, fucking, at least Dr. Van Helsing, he puts down a rosary or a crucifix in the coffin to fuck him up. Now the lore has changed to, if you take away their shroud, they can't go back to their coffin. What the fuck?
yeah. Like, what was that? Like, it just.
Like, there are rules with the vampire's coffin, and I'm okay with switching it up a bit. Like, if you put a cross in, that's fine. Or they have to go back to a coffin that has their native soil in it. Yeah, that's some nice lore in it, but, ooh, you took their security blanket and now they can't go to sleep? What the fuck?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It was basically this. I just sent you a picture of what I thought of as soon as I saw this.
Yeah, sexy ghost. Yeah, she's got this thick blanket on her. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So she goes to town, and we see this guy walk out of a bar to take a piss, and he looks around, he looks at the camera, and he gives a smile. So clearly, he's not looking at somebody dressed in a fucking drape.
No, unless that's his thing. Who knows?
Maybe
Maybe he was
hey.
like he's out taking a leak. You know, he got his junk in his hand. And he turns around and is like, that's a sexy ghost.
Oh boy, I'd like to storm that blanket fort.
So yeah, no, that I thought that was pretty ridiculous too. I'm like, what is going on here? She's got a sheet over her head and she's just dancing around, just like literally like just doing pirouettes and fluttering about.
And then when she comes back to the place, she goes back to the grave, she looks at her coffin, and she's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Who fucked my digs? And then she looks up, sees his torch, goes into the castle, but then she doesn't confront him as a as a spooky ghost. She just shows up, like she's ditched the blanket, and she's in like her beautiful form with that little see-through negligee showing off her cans. It's like, why? Why don't you just walk around town like a beautiful girl? What's up with the spooky ghost act?
Yeah, really. Yeah,
it ain't right.
Didn't get it.
Hammer, you're falling off.
Yeah. Okay, so next I got on my bad list. So Peter Cushing and Ingrid aside, acting was pretty rough in this. Not Hammer's best when it came to the supporting cast.
Well, he didn't have the regulars like the barkeep. He would like the barkeep. When we see him for Dracula 58, the one that's like, "Oh, you're a stranger here in Klausenberg." He showed up in other Dracula movies again as tavern keepers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he looked the part. He looked like a fucking tavern keeper.
He did, yeah. But yeah, it's this one was definitely, like I said, I think the budget went to Cushing and Pitt because they weren't spending a lot on the supporting cast. So that, and it was pretty obvious. Like they were pretty rough. Even the eye candy, looked great, sure. Some very attractive people, but they didn't have the acting chops. It was obvious why they were hired.
Yeah, there were plenty of women whose like only 2 acting credits were like in like end-run Hammer movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that it definitely had to, some points definitely had to come off for me. So what else you got?
Well, more points are coming off here right now. They walk around in the daylight and fall in love with humans. This is some fucking Twilight shit.
Yep. Glad you mentioned that, so I can take that off my list. Because it's like, hey, vampire, what you doing out there in the sunlight?
Yeah, you're reading and you're awake during the day instead of, sleeping. We see you walking through the forest. Also, not a dark night, quite a very early evening. And what the fuck is up with that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is from Hammer. If this was some fledgling studio, like, oh, we need to revamp the lore a bit for a new generation. No, these were the original Mac Daddies. These were the guys that like laid down the law, cupped to it, and then they just decided, let's just rewrite everything. If we got lesbian vampires, how about they walk around in the day and they fall in love?
Exactly.
No.
So yeah, so that's a great point. I know it's a great point because I also had it on my list. So there you go.
And to see this is where Twilight got it from.
Well, at least it didn't sparkle.
Yeah, well, probably because they had to keep a budget. They couldn't afford glitter.
But I guess their thing was, we've this is a completely different story. It's not connected to the Dracula. What the fuck? Dracula.
Oh my god! This is like the hillbilly studio. Dracula.
So I guess I think at the time they were just trying to get away from the Dracula mythos. Just this is a completely different story, new set of lore. So we can do things that we couldn't do before. Like, it doesn't have to be, all dark and gloomy all the time. We can have some bright, colorful scenes. I just didn't like it. That's all. I do give them points for trying something new, but to me, like, my vampires are always going to be, can't step out in the sunlight. Like, that's for me, when it comes to vampires, that's rule number 1. So once you break that rule, nothing else you do matters.
And another bad is anagram of the vampire's name to cast off suspicions. Alucard anyone? Like, I'm Carmilla, I'm Marcella. And this lady keeps introducing her niece as different names, so she's in on it. But does anyone kill her as a vampire? No. Like, she's in on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely a loose end right there.
And, yeah, another... Nah, I'll make that a what the fuck. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is, like, and this is just my own personal thing, the story, like, I do appreciate they did something new, or I guess the story itself, I really want to find this book now to read it and see, like, how different it was. I got a feeling that I'm going to enjoy the book better, because the story it was something new. They were not afraid to show some nudity, and they have, actually showing some lesbian acts on screen, and, lightly. You're not going to see... You're not going to see anything hardcore, but, like, implied lesbian acts.
Well, we did see some pussy eating.
We did, yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm not sure what else could be happening there. So, but I don't know.
Hey, and they kiss some boobies.
They do.
Like, they weren't just kissing on the lips; they were also doing a little.
Yeah, they do. That is true. I don't know. I just, overall, it was edgy for the time, and I totally get that, but story was bland.
Yeah.
It wasn't much going on. It is just a typical vampire thing. Dracula, it's kind of like the Dracula and Mina Harper thing again, except now it just happens to be a female vampire.
Yeah, there was no, like... The villains seem to have no real agenda besides just bite some girl, eat her, and then eat her.
Yeah. So, yeah, when you take out you take out the edginess, the 1970s version of edginess, doesn't leave a whole lot. Like, the story is pretty flat. Like.
And it's the only thing that is flat.
It really is. Yeah. But yeah, nothing great here. No great storytelling. The world itself, like, not a very immersive world. Just lesbian vampires. That's all you need to know, really.
And Peter Cushing not being interesting.
Yeah. Like, no. Like, I mean, he's great in the... Like I said, whatever scene he's in, he steals it. But, like, certainly not... you can tell, like, that he was pretty much done at this point.
Yeah, he like, his body showed up, but his soul was thinking, like, so George Lucas gave me a script to play some guy in a space station. I can look into that.
I've never been in space before, so... Even though that was, 6 years before he started filming Star Wars, but still.
He took a long time to think about it. He couldn't say no, but he just wasn't ready to say yes.
So that's all I got for my bad. I mean, it's enough. I do suggest the movie, but it's... like, if you're a Hammer film fan and you haven't seen this one, and check it out, it's worthwhile for the aesthetics of it, the gore, and, some pretty attractive people making out. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and just so you could say that you saw the first lesbian vampire movie.
Yes.
Like, there were others, like a French film was probably a little more... it came out in 1960, and it was called The Blood and Roses, but it was a French movie, and...
Which means nobody saw it.
What was in that. Yep. And there was a 30s version called Dracula's Daughter, and that had a female vampire stalking some beautiful female victims, but because it was done in the 30s in America, it was just heavily neutered and, like, vaguely implied.
Yeah.
So this was the first one to come out and go, ladies making out naked.
Okay, so
it was a plus.
I know we always come up with, we try to do another category. 99% of the time it's what the fuck. Just something that we created because there's certain scenes, certain things in a movie sometimes that we can't decide if it's good or bad. It just left us confused. For this one, I didn't really have anything. But I think you said you did.
Well, you didn't ask me if I was done my bad.
Oh well, fuck. I just figured I'm done.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
I just figured I'm done. So there's nothing else to say once I'm finished.
Well, in addition to what I thought was like a waste of Peter Cushing, like you have Peter Cushing in there, you could have had him do more Peter Cushing stuff. He was rather weak, and again, not as Van Helsing, so it's like he could have been better. But my biggest final bad is the final showdown is very weak, and this vampire's death was so nonchalant. Like, when they finally find Marcella, Carmela, whatever her name is, they chase her back to her coffin, and they just stake her, and she doesn't fight. No epic music, no prolonged death. Like, for a main vampire to die, usually you get at least like a good 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. Like, this is the final villain.
Yeah.
They get a good death scene. This one did not. And there wasn't like an epic confrontation, no revelation of a plan. They waited for her to go back to her grave, be asleep, and then stake her. It was just no fight, no battle. It was weak as hell.
Yeah, you're right. It was very anticlimactic, for sure.
And this was from the people who had long ago done better. Mm-hmm. So they set the standard and they failed to live up to it.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see her, just before she got staked, jump up and start, like, knocking Peter Cushing around for a bit, just... I would have liked to see her just grab him by the throat and just, like, before trying to go in for a kill, just, like, bitch slap him for a little while. Just like to see, because he, his fights with Dracula is, like, a little bit tense, but, I mean, he always comes out on top. Just to see him, like, before taking her out, actually get his ass kicked for a little bit.
Yeah, and only because he has a crucifix to whip out. Like, he's trying to reach for the crucifix, but she's, like, strong, young, nimble, fast. Like, she uses her agility more than strength to overpower him, but only because they gang up on her and distract her. Then he finally gets the drop on her with a cross, stuns her with a crucifix to the forehead, and then when she, like, gets down and she's, like, writhing in pain, then that's when you, like, pin her down and stab her in the heart. Like, something. It could have been more vital.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
This was a terrible ending. But I got two quick what the fucks. The first one is when this guy's recounting the story of killing the Karnsteins, it shows the flashback, and he's killing them all at night. Are these fucking reverse vampires? We see them walking around during the day, and they're sleeping in their coffins at night? Nobody is getting up and attacking him with all the screaming from the stabbing. The fuck? I mean, this is unforgivably confusing and awful.
Yeah.
And another what the fuck is this guy, this pale-ass motherfucker on a horseback, keeps showing up just to fill out a transition scene, and then near the end of the movie, when Carmela starts like attacking people willy-nilly, he just shows up on horseback, does a laugh, and we have no idea who the fuck he is. He's got fangs. He's definitely a vampire. You think, oh, she's his disciple, and like there's going to be some stuff going on. She never speaks with him, never converses with him. He doesn't say anything. Nobody mentions him. He speaks to nobody. Why the fuck is he in this movie?
Yeah, that's true.
And, oh yeah, I forgot one more. When Carmela is being attacked by the by the heroic stable boy, whose job it is to make sure that, what's her name? What is her name? Does she have a name?
Wait.
The lady that gets seduced by, the one that Carla is trying to take out of the house. I keep forgetting her name. Laura?
I think so. Wow, that's funny.
Or was Laura the first one to die?
No, it was Laura. Yeah.
Okay, so Carmela's trying to take Laura out of the house, and then that's when the Baron's stable boy, or just like some boy that the Baron says, oh, by the way, can you check up on my daughter, make sure she doesn't go down on her friend? He shows up, and then he goes to attack Carmela with, I don't know what the fuck it is, a crossbow or something. He shoots something at her, and then she immediately just uses ghost powers to go X-Men Kitty Pryde style and just fucking phase out while the weapon passes through her and hits like a flower pot on a little table. She has fucking vampire ghost powers and never used them before or again. Could have helped to avoid getting stabbed if you just went to sleep while intangible.
Yep.
So again, what the fuck? They're vampires, not ghosts. She just like holds her chest, concentrates, and the weapon goes right through her into a fucking flower.
Yeah, well, what I thought that was their way of, like the vampire mythos of being able to turn to mist. I thought that was kind of their way of doing that.
If she turned into actual mist, that might have sold it.
She turned into mist that still looked like her.
She turned into mist that looked like a person.
There you go.
In just like a slightly faded form.
That's it. Yep. There you go. You solved it.
Yeah, so even though I liked a lot about this movie, there's a lot to not like or just be like, the fuck, Hammer? Yeah. I mean, we expect better from you. You've done better than this.
So there you go.
You are better than this. What the hell?
The average score of 6 out of 10 is not that far off from what I would give it.
Yeah.
Like, I would give it, probably, depending on my mood, I would give it on a 6 on a bad day, 7 on a good day. So yes.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's pretty fair. But definitely check it out. Like, I would recommend, if someone hasn't seen this, one thing I'm going to say about it is that it has no replay value. Like, it's not rewatchable. Now I've seen it. I'm glad I watched it. I'm like, yeah, that was enjoyable enough. Some good Hammer stuff, high production value. Like I said, love me a good Hammer flick. But there's nothing about it that would make me want to go back and watch it again.
If you want to go back, there's another Karnstein movie, but no need to watch this one.
No,
again.
I'll watch the sequels, sure. But from what I understand about them, I haven't seen them. The only thing I saw is that when it comes to ratings, they get progressively worse.
Which means that they probably get more desperate and show more titty.
That could be. So that could be, once again, right up your alley. I would recommend it. Watch it. No desire for me, and there's nothing about it that makes me want to go back to rewatch. But if you've blown through and that's a big contrast. Like I said, at least it was something different. But I mean, I've seen.
There can be good different. This was not.
I've seen a Christopher Lee Dracula probably 7-8 times.
And I could see it again.
Yeah, I could easily rewatch it again. It's fantastic. So it definitely doesn't have that returning draw like some of the other Hammer flicks do. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. You won't be. It's worthwhile to watch that one time at least. So, Mike, sometimes I can predict this. This time, I have no idea what you're going to go with. I know which one I would pick, but lots of times we don't end up on the same page. But you got a little segment that you want to talk about right now, I'm sure.
Yeah. Even I was a little confused by what I eventually settled on my kill of the week. And a whole lot of these kills are slow or off screen. Like, we see this shadowy figure walk up to this stable girl, and then we hear a scream, and then they find her dead. Mm-hmm. So it's hardly a kill. It's more like just like a death. although the doctor getting shredded in the forest after failing to do a Van Helsing impression was pretty good. But I have to say the best / worst death in the movie has to go to Carmilla getting beheaded by not Van Helsing. But it's not her. The thing that dies is the painting of her. And that has a far better death than its subject does, because it goes full Dorian Gray and starts turning into a skull with fangs after she gets beheaded.
Oh, yeah.
The beautiful picture of her starts to get like mossy and decrepit and decaying, and then finally like the muscles are gone and like it's just a skull underneath, and which like starts growing fangs. And it's like as awful and uneventful as her death was, this painting had a better death scene than she did.
So that's your kill of the week, the painting.
Yeah, the Dorian Gray painting.
All right. I still think my favorite was just right off the start, just the first vampire, the dancing sheet that we saw earlier. Just because I didn't expect it. I thought that she was going to get staked, or actually, I thought that she wasn't going to die. I thought that the guy hesitated, and I thought she was going to bite him, and that'd be it. Like that was, our first vampire that we see in this movie. But nope, instead she gets her freaking block chopped off.
Yeah, usually in like a vampire movie, we get to see like the vampire in action, so it was just as likely that he would be the kill.
All right. You're always full of surprises, Mike. So, everybody, that is episode...
The key to a relationship is keep them guessing.
That is episode 69 and our coverage of The Vampire Lovers. Have you seen this movie? What do you think of it? What do you think of if you have, what do you think of our coverage of it? Did we miss something? A lot of people like to message us after listening to our episodes, say that we missed something, we point out something that we should have talked about. So, yeah, we definitely want to hear from you, and especially if you have a movie suggestion for us. Is there something that you, in particular, want us to talk about in the show? Please let us know, and you have several ways of doing that. You can email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod, on Facebook at GYS... Nope, that's not right. Why is that there? Facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. I've got the Twitter handle written down twice for some reason.
It's been a while.
It has. It's been a minute. And, of course, you can always follow us on Instagram at instagram.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. If you're feeling particularly generous and you missed us during our sort of absent, or you heard our Patreon preview episodes and you want to help donate to make sure the show keeps running and we don't disappear again, you can head on over to www.patreon.com/graveyard. There, for as little as $1 a month, you get to help us out greatly with some of the production costs of running the show, and as a token of our appreciation of your generosity, you get access to some nice exclusive Patreon-only episodes. These are extra episodes that we do that only our paying Patreon listeners get to take a look at. Like I said, the past couple of weeks we did release a couple that were previously Patreon only, but we decided since we were taking a little break, instead of having nothing for you guys, we just let those go so everybody could take a look just to see if it's something you think is worth supporting. And of course, not everybody has the money to give us money. We totally understand that. But you can still help us out a ton by going on to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, however you get your podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. To be perfectly honest, in the long run, that is the best way to support us, because the more you like, share, rate, review, that lets us be known to other people. It helps these platforms get the word out about us. So we certainly do appreciate that. And like I said, if nothing else, if that's not possible, rate, review, and subscribe. Just share us on your social media platforms or by word of mouth. You know, somebody that would like to listen to us two schmoes talk about horror movies, tell them about our show and how they can get it. So, Mike, other than the Graveyard Shift, you've got a couple other things going on that aren't nearly as important. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Well, I have Technobabble, the tech discussion podcast where we talk about items, devices, breakthroughs, basically like science and tech stuff that really is interesting. And you can find that at Technobabble, but like MR. Yeah, it's you look for Mr. Technobabble if you want to type it in, because Rich thought it would be too much to make it Technobabble with Mike and Rich. That title is just too long and confusing apparently, so we got to make it Mr. Technobabble, even though it's like two guys, not one. Blame Rich. Is it any wonder why this is the show I put all my eggs in? Because I have a stable co-host.
Wow.
And then there's... Am I not great at plugging my stuff? So... Then I've got the Taste Test, Retro Gaming with Flavor, which you can find in basically the same places you would find this podcast. And that is where I play Nintendo games with one or two of my co-hosts, depending on who's available at the time. And we just do skits. It was where I first started doing skits. So if you wonder, why did Mike feel the need to be like an acting little tool in this show? Well, it started there. And then there's the Playing with Power podcast, the On Again, Off Again podcast about Nintendo Power Magazine, where we just read each issue first to last or until I run out of issues. And then we just talk about the artwork, the game coverage, the amazing news, like how Nintendo was just talking about how there's going to be a disc version for the Super Nintendo, then its own one, and then all of a sudden, who needs CDs anymore? Cartridges are still great. So it's great to, in 1 year, hear them do a complete 180. And it was just, it was where I met Sheldon.
Yep, it's the catalyst for this show, so blame Playing with Power.
And Technobabble was the first podcast I ever did, so if you wonder why am I doing all these shitty shows, blame that.
There you go. And check out the Taste Test. I'm going to be on the Taste Test soon. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we got the Halloween grab bag coming up, so we always got like a little bag of treats.
So you'll finally have a reason to listen to it. So yeah, check them out. All great shows, and if you follow our social media, you can probably find those other those shows, the social media links for those as well, because a lot of times we share stuff between each other's pages. So check that out, and if you can't find it, just message us. I'm sure Mike would be all too happy to send you the links. So, guys, it is good to be back. It's been, like a month since we actually recorded something new.
Yeah, and we just think that this is just the perfect episode to ring in Shocker-tober.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, we got some good stuff coming up all through October, because you know that's our favorite time of the year. I was going to say favorite time of the month. October is our favorite time of the month. I'm an idiot and a little bit drunk. So, yeah, good stuff. So, yeah, this was fun, guys. Like I said, I can't wait to talk about some of the stuff we got coming out, some things that were on the list much earlier, but we decided to hold off because they were a little more Halloween themed. So we want to talk about those things closer to the big day. But, yeah, we had a nice little break, like I said. Lots of things we had to take care of. Hope you enjoyed the Patreon previews. Even if you're not interested in supporting us through Patreon, hope you like those episodes. And like we always say, those episodes are a little different than what we do in regular feed. And now you can see just how different they are. So hope you enjoyed those. Hope you guys are going to enjoy the stuff we got coming up over the next few weeks. And we will be back next week with another movie to talk about. Until then, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And thank you again for joining us on the Graveyard Shift. We're back, baby.